Big news dropped yesterday. Russell Wilson will be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Justin Fields will be the QB2. We're going to look at this scenario. We're going to hear from Mike Tomlin from some interviews of what he's got to say about Russell Wilson being the starting quarterback in the situation. And we're going to look at everything, too, from a fantasy football lens for the players involved in this situation. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now. We're doing these deep dives every day. We're looking at players off the waiver wire. We're looking at players that you're starting in your lineups. Guys changing positions. Guys climbing the depth chart. We're doing deep dives. We're doing player lists. You need to click that subscribe button right now because we're going to help you win your leagues. But we're first going to hear from Mike Tomlin. We're going to see what he's got to say from his most recent press conference yesterday.
Good afternoon. As I said this past weekend after the game, we had a decision coming at the end of our work week this week regarding the quarterback position. As I also said after the game, I just thought it was appropriate to do it at this time. I think that doing it earlier than this time would have put a de-emphasis on the work that we were able to get done out here from a developmental standpoint. But I also think it's the appropriate time because as we move into next week, we need to be singularly focused as a collective on the challenges of the week, which is obviously our opener in Atlanta in the division of labor and roles within it. I met with both quarterbacks here just a few minutes ago after practice, and I informed them that Russ is QB1 going into week one. It was a difficult decision, but not difficult in a negative way, to be quite honest with you. It was difficult in a positive way. The decision was difficult because of what they're capable of doing. Decision was difficult because of how they conducted themselves, as opposed to the things that they fall short in terms of capabilities or negative conduct. I saw it and noticed it. I don't know that it made a big difference in terms of the decision because I saw it in both guys. Obviously, Russ's resume is a unique one in terms of length and success, and that tends to play a factor in the decision making, but not from a decision maker's perspective. It's just, fruit of his labor. He's seen a lot and done a lot, and I think it was reflected in the way his athleticism is freaky. I've seen the highlights and things.
Talking about Justin Fields here.
But being an AFC coach and things of that nature, you don't always get a chance to feel it or really pay attention to it, to see it day to day and to see some of the things that he's capable of doing on the football field is really exciting.
He's not going to say anything negative of either guy. First off and foremost, one thing I'm gathering from reading this press conference is the maturity of Russell Wilson, his experience, his ability to break down concepts quickly, move with the offense, really played a toll here. He started off with a calf strain injury going into training camp, slowed him down, wasn't able to practice. Justin Fields, though, in practice was lighting it up. Every day in practice was lighting it up. When we got to the preseason games, it wasn't going too hot. And then Russell Wilson on top of that in some of the preseason performances wasn't going too hot. But there were some moments in training camp where Russell Wilson was looking good. It looked like a tight training camp fight. And it was good that Justin Fields was playing well in practice because it allowed Russell Wilson to really step it up and play optimally. And the fact that they got two quarterbacks that were looking good in practice is only good for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But now they're rolling with Russell Wilson. And this was a funny thing that came out yesterday. And I saw on multiple sites that they said that they're going to use Justin Fields in different packages. The first thing that came to mind is that Madden was somewhat right on this when it came to their trailer with Justin Fields with kick returns. Probably not kick returns. That was kind of like the feeling I had when I watched this tweet. But still, Justin Fields is going to be on the field. Will it be enough for fantasy production? Probably not. Probably not. But the thing about this, over the course of the season, what's the odds Justin Fields comes in? What is the odds for that? What's the odds Russell Wilson gets injured? What's the odds Russell Wilson has a bad string of games? It's going to be fun to watch the media on this. You go to advanced metrics on Russell Wilson, and you're noticing where he's targeting the football there in the bottom right-hand corner there. He goes to the wide receiver a lot. He checks it to the running backs. Something to take note. This is advanced metrics from last year. The ADOT's so kind of low there for last year, 6.5, but he does have years where he's tossing it more downfield. You're looking at Justin Fields here. Targets a lot to the wide receivers, but he also goes to the tight end on 20% of his throws. 16% of his targets goes to the running back, so a little bit more spread out. But I believe George Pickens is going to look good with either quarterback. Had a 7.1 average depth of target. He pushes it downfield a little bit more. Less pass attempts, less completed passes. 17.5 completed passes per game. That is the major red flag when you're just looking at numbers. If you never watched him play and you saw that, that'd be a major red flag for you. But you look at the offense last year, Deontay Johnson's gone, and 107 targets to George Pickens last year. Jalen Warren's banged up. Allen Robinson, we ain't going to worry about that. Pat Freiermuth, and they're using Washington also at tight end. They're sprinkling these tight ends and moving them around a bit, so they might have these tight ends work off and on the field, and they might be in a committee. Keep in mind for that going into the season. George Pickens is the guy that stands out on this depth chart. He's the guy that stands out clearly on this depth chart. They drafted Roman Wilson this year. He's banged up a little bit in training camp. We'll see what he's going to be doing in season. Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson was making plays in training camp, but we know what Van Jefferson is. George Pickens should be getting a ton of targets. Both these quarterbacks look his way in training camp, and they throw him the deep ball, and he had the best training camp of his entire career in Pittsburgh. I get just a few years, but still, he's had a great training camp. Probably one of the better training camps of all wide receivers in the NFL. You're looking at the quarterbacks from last year compared to the quarterbacks that we were just looking at, Justin Fields and Russell Wilson, and you can definitely say that this is going to be an upgrade. This is going to be a major upgrade when you look at the advanced stats here. ADOT, air yards a game, completions, and look at the stats last year. The volume wasn't there, the pass attempts wasn't there, the completions wasn't there. It just wasn't there. They weren't able to move the chains effectively. They had to get an upgrade, and this was a very cheap and effective upgrade for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Russ and Justin Fields are both on the cheap for them, and no matter what happens, they could give you this production right here that they're not hurting because they're on the cheap. They can wash their hands easy from both these quarterbacks. They were slow last year, and I imagine because of the quarterbacks. But looking at Arthur Smith here, and Arthur Smith had some weirdness at the quarterback position last year, so a lot of what he did was probably due to that. You had Desmond Ridder. He just got cut. He was looking awful with the Cardinals. He did not last there. You're looking at that offense with the Falcons, and you might see some different stuff here in Pittsburgh. He is known to be a little bit slower, but it could be a shade more up-tempo considering you're going to get good quarterback play. You're also going to have an experienced quarterback there under center, so that's something else to look at. The thing about this offense that is fascinating is Russell Wilson's going to step in. He is definitely going to sling some deep balls. I think a lot of his targets are going to go to George Pickens. And I believe if something happens and Justin Fields comes in, a lot of his targets are going to go to George Pickens. We saw that in training camp. But the thing about these two quarterbacks, when we're in the preseason games, they both had some bad moments. It wasn't looking great. It was very anticlimactic. There's a lot of optimism with anticlimactic aspects with these two quarterbacks. That's what I gathered throughout training camp and preseason. I looked at them a lot throughout the whole offseason with the clips and tried to really break down the situation as much as possible. That is what I gather. I believe that if anybody wins from this scenario, and I believe he was going to win no matter what, it's George Pickens. I think he's going to get balls downfield. They're going to be a little bit more accurate. They're going to be funneled his way. I'm not worried about Arthur Smith in his regards. Najee Harris is going to be very interesting with Jalen Warren out for a little bit. I believe Najee Harris is going to get some checkdowns as the guy early on. I believe Russell Wilson's going to go to the running back a little bit. I think Russell Wilson, just looking at the advanced metrics and then just going over how he plays the game, he likes to push it downfield, and if it's not there, his outlet's usually the running back. And that's what those numbers said right there when we were looking at the advanced metrics and where he likes to go with the football. He likes to go more towards the running backs than the tight ends. However, Justin Fields is a little bit more mixed with that. Overall, I think George Pickens is going to get a lot of targets, and the targets are going to be better compared to previous years. We got to watch these quarterbacks throughout the season. This is just going to be drama from week to week, which we love football drama because it's always fun to watch and fun to watch fans melt in the comment section. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. One thing for watching. Catch you on the next video.